Within society's labels of spirituality, mental illness, and also the scientific materialism, the label that is most dominant is mental illness. In today's modern society, the majority of us are more worried about what we have, and we're less focused on who we actually are, what we can own up to, what we do with our life. Our happiness and our desires in life are also the same things that we need to question on how to find it, how to use it, how to own it, in the hopes that we don't get judged by another person. And without really being aware of it, we actually struggle with the concept of freedom. Someone of high authority represents power. However, there's also the saying, but what is power without influence? Comes down to the restraint behaviour of whether they are a law unto themselves and can do whatever they want. Because the human ego can never reach beyond the material world, it's engaged in an impossible quest of seeking security, which is why some people feel threatened by other belief systems. And this is why I believe that spirituality wasn't as popular as scientific materialism or even mental illness, because it goes outside of those mental boxes by basically having society questioned the expansion of human knowledge. But if materialism and also mental illness hadn't become dominant, would it be possible that we could have an increase in both scientific ability and the spiritual development that would have made it easier for the modern society to resolve moral and ethical questions? Materialism is open to evolutionary growth, but it has a pause when it comes down to revolutionary growth. Again, this is caused by the ego's need for security, which makes a lot of people hesitate to question the foundations for their own sense of being in control. And so in order for humanity to take that revolutionary step forward, we need to look beyond our fragile need for security, expanding our consciousness and looking beyond our own closed mental boxes, one in which society had made us believe in growing up, also the religion, cultures and belief systems, and also scientific materialism. And so it's like explaining the human consciousness by realizing that nothing can exist as something without it first becoming a thought. Our own body is an expression of a person's state of consciousness. How we relate and interact with others is by transferring information from a person's energy field to the body so that the physical body can grow to feel the blueprint defined in our energy field. And so to understand my own concept of the consciousness is by starting at the beginning of our very own creation, linked to our very own source origin, as an unconscious co-creator controlling the wheels in our own creation, manifesting our own heaven or hell on earth, as aligns it with the belief systems, whether it's riddled by fear or happiness, which also associates with the law of attraction by explaining that, again, everything is energy. Our thoughts are vibrations. Our thoughts are also what co-creates our reality. This is also the same as removing that religious belief that God is a being of form, the man upstairs, the man in the sky. Without a form, it also doesn't have a gender, and so therefore it's an energy of both the divine masculine and also the divine feminine, of the God and also the goddess. The Christ consciousness itself is the Trinity, which basically represents the male and the female and the spirit. And this is through the integration of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, balancing both energies within oneself, having an awareness of who you are on a soul level without being intimidated by other beliefs. And so the labels of spirituality and mental illness is characterized by a fear of the unknown, individualism without compassion, reliance on experts and books rather than intuition for knowledge about life and spirituality. It's denigration of the inner person and personal realization, and a belief that the spirit and consciousness are products of the brain with no existence outside of our body. So once humanity recognizes that there is a high consciousness that inhabits our body, we also expand that knowledge in realizing that our human qualities are not the products of the processes that's going on in our brains. Our brains can't account exclusively for the total complexity of a human being. For example, we can program a computer to stimulate the human intelligence, but it doesn't make a computer alive because it doesn't give the basic human quality. But it is the ego that turns certain segments of the population into a kind of biological machine. The thing is, in regards to human conditioning, it's a condition of consciousness, and not realizing by their own choices and free will, basically again stuck on that concept of freedom, the person has a unique opportunity to transcend that condition. Only the ego can think otherwise. Things are never as they seem to the mind that is blinded by the ego's dualistic vision. Within my own personal journey, before I knew anything about spirituality, with the shift in my own personality and behaviour, I got told in one session that I had severe depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and also postnatal depression. Mental illness is only seen as a physical chemical component, having a form of psychology that is based on denying anything beyond the material world and seeking to treat an illness in the subconscious mind that is working with the conscious mind and trying to make the subconscious visible, which in many cases isn't possible until we've cleared the energy in the emotional and mental bodies that we embody. Mental illness translates in the conditions that affect one's behavior caused by their thoughts. Means that every single person in this world has a mental illness. There is a quote that is written by Pythagoras, who is an ancient Greek philosopher, who wrote, "Know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and all the gods." This is a basic, simple message, which means that we as individuals have a spiritual potential for rising above all of human limitations. Expanding our own awareness, our own human knowledge is the highest level of the mind. Growth is always possible. Any philosophy or belief system that denies growth is out of touch with reality. And so why would society create their own philosophy or labels or translation that denies growth? Is it because of society's power that wants to maintain a status quo in order to keep their privileges and power, to prevent the public population in accepting limits for their own potential? It's already been undermined by a power elite who believed that they are equipped by nature to be more fit than the public population by insulting their intelligence. It's almost anti-democratic. If materialism isn't replaced by a higher understanding, then democracy would cease to exist. As a human collective, we are a condition of consciousness, and as individuals, we were born original. And so if we could truly believe that none of us should ever feel judged by anyone else, regardless of who we are, nobody should have to feel lonely and unwanted or unworthy. No words should ever suggest someone else is anything less than the brilliant being of who they are. But only we can reshape ourselves to become that eternal spiritual being that we are. Impossible is just a word. It's just a label. Because we are alive, everything and anything is possible.